prosecuted multiple BMPs, BTRs, earlier. Great. And then we've also prosecuted a convoy of BTRs with dealer 5-5. Block 10 to 12.
Hello folks, I'm Jim Hansen. Welcome to the Free Fire Zone. Leave no man behind has been an unofficial motto of the U.S. military since it was formed. It's the sacred bond we as Americans make with those who put their lives on the line to secure all of our freedom. It also makes the contrast between the Obama administration's action and inaction in two recent cases particularly unsettling. I'm speaking of the deal struck with the Taliban for the return of Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl and the complete lack of a deal with Mexico to secure the release of Sergeant Andrew Tahmoressi. First, let me acknowledge that there are significant differences between the two cases. Sergeant Bergdahl was an active-duty U.S. soldier captured in a war zone by our enemy. Sergeant Tahmoressi was a recently discharged U.S. Marine arrested by the civilian authorities of our southern neighbor. But there's also another significant difference. Sergeant Bergdahl was in captivity due to his own decision to desert his unit. Sergeant Tahmoressi was in Mexican jail only because he mistakenly crossed the Mexican border with guns in his car that are legal here in the United States. When Sergeant Bergdahl abandoned his unit in Afghanistan, there was an investigation conducted, and CENTCOM sources familiar with that official report have told me it concluded he left of his own volition and in violation of numerous orders and regulation. Bergdahl is a U.S. soldier, and it was right to bring him home, hopefully to face U.S. military justice, but not at any cost, and the deal struck to free him was a disgrace. Not only did we return 5 senior Taliban leaders to the fight against us, but it appears we also paid a cash ransom to the terrorists who were holding him. The group actually holding Bergdahl was not the Taliban, but the Haqqani group, a separate organization that combined terrorism with crime. Think The Sopranos in man jammies instead of suits. Well-sourced and corroborated intelligence reports from the Eclipse Group show that the Haqqanis were not at all interested in a prisoner exchange. They wanted cash. They had received multi-million-dollar payments for foreigners they had kidnapped in the past, and they were not about to let their most valuable prisoner go without at least recouping their considerable costs for his multi-year captivity and a significant return on that investment. So the Obama administration released 5 senior Taliban terrorist leaders and paid somewhere in the vicinity of $10 million for the release of a likely deserter. So what did they do in the case of a recently honorably discharged U.S. Marine, Sergeant Tahmoressi, who was in jail only because of an accidental crossing of the border? Not a thing. They let him rot down there for more than 200 days. They ignored his family, Congress, and a groundswell of support from ordinary Americans who couldn't understand why they wouldn't help. I can't say for certain why these two cases were handled so differently, but President Obama sure seemed to think he was going to get some positive PR from bringing Sergeant Bergdahl home. Apparently, none of his political handlers understood that Americans don't celebrate deserters, much less trading cash and terrorists for one. As far as why he abandoned Sergeant Tahmoressi, I'm baffled. Maybe it was the left's reflexive hatred of guns or their love of illegal immigration. Regardless of the reason, it was simply shameful. And the bottom line is, neither of these cases was helpful to our national security or representative of the morals and ethics we have a right to expect from our national leaders. I'm Jim Hansen, and you've been in the Free Fire Zone.
We prosecuted multiple BMPs, BTRs, earlier. Great. And then we've also prosecuted a convoy of BTRs with dealer 5-5.